This video will begin our year-long series looking into the Kevin O'Connell offense by assessing and looking at the top play designs and concepts that O'Connell's offense delivers each week of the season, beginning here with preseason week number 1. This first clip here is during J.J. McCarthy's one initial drive with the Vikings. And this first piece you're going to see here is going to be a play-action concept off of their outside zone scheme. And it's going to be a concept that involves the number 1 receiver here running a deep corner route. You're going to see the number 2 receiver running what I'm going to call a pivot route at about 5 yards. And then you're going to see this backside tight end running that deep over route. And what appears to be here from the quarterback standpoint, he's going to read this one of two different ways. If he has a clear pocket as he's rolling out to his left, he's going to read high to low, which could be either his corner route back to his over route and then finishing with this pivot route. Or it could be, if he wants to just have a 2-person progression, this over route, then down to this pivot route. However, if he is rushed or the rollout is not very clean, in which he's getting some sort of a pass rush, he then likely will read low to high, which would then be going this pivot route up to this crosser and then potentially finishing up here with this corner route, but that is very unlikely because they will likely not be able to get more than 2 reads with a rushed pocket. So as you can see here, great pickup by C.J. Ham as this play develops off of their play action, coming back and giving McCarthy an opportunity to step into his throw. He delivers it here to his pivot route in Jordan Addison and picks up a nice 8-yard gain. Again, a real simple design for a completion for the quarterback, a good drive starter, in this case being a second down, but a way for the quarterback to get on the move and then make a simple read for the quarterback to gain confidence. This next clip is a little bit later on in the drive with McCarthy. And one of the things you're going to see here is a version of a mesh concept. Here at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a deep corner route, which could be turning into a swirl, but he kind of gives up on the route a little bit before that. You're going to see a mesh route here by T.J. Hawkinson. You're going to see the opposite receiver here running a mesh route, and then an over-the-ball route here at the top of the screen. Now, accompanying all of this is going to be the running back rail. And you can see based on the progression here on the eyes of the quarterback's going to read this rail first to the over the ball and then work to this mesher coming from the backside. It does not appear to be that Hawkinson is part of this read progression if it is read as most traditional versions of this mesh rail concept are. But you can see here, again, a very simple concept for J.J. McCarthy to read as he's reading 1 to 2 to 3. And you can see here as this play starts to develop, Jordan Mason's going out on that wheel route, which is covered here by the outside linebacker. Looks like it's taken a little bit too long here to throw the over-the-ball route, but he certainly could have if he was a little bit more patient. Instead throws the mesh route, again, picking up a first down. O'Connell did call mesh a few other times with some of the other quarterbacks that came in later on in the game. It appears to be a concept that is an early install for them, and it could have something to do with the defensive structure of the Houston Texans. But at the end of the day, this rail concept was something that O'Connell did run several times in the first preseason game of the year. In this clip, McCarthy again is asked to do a play-action rollout to his left. And in this case, they're going to run a version of a deep comeback here, working back towards the sideline. And they're also going to have a check release here by the tight end as a form of flat control for the quarterback. He is going to read high-low on this one, and he's able to deliver it to his comeback route. On the opposite side over here, you're going to see something similar in terms of a check release to the flat. And then you'll see here at the bottom of the screen, when he's making his cut, likely if it's going to be a mirrored route concept, he just loses his footing. I don't know if they actually had him trying to come in by design on a dig route. It's unlikely that they would have been bringing a dig route at this point in time, but they certainly could have, trying to keep everything brought back into the quarterback's line of vision. But as you can see here, McCarthy hangs in the pocket and is able to make a good clean throw. Again, this not being too complex in the first week of the preseason, but this deep comeback was also something that they ran multiple times to varying degrees of efficiency against the Texans. Here again, you're going to see a Kevin O'Connell staple where they're going to be motioning here from a 3x1 set into a 2x2 set to run a version of their smash concept here on the front side, which is going to turn into more of a flood as you're going to see it develop. And then you're going to see them work a version of a bow concept on the back side, bringing the outside receiver in from a dagger route or a deep dig. And then you're also going to see a flat control after a check release by the tight end. Now the version you're going to see here develop after the snap is you're going to see this initial number one receiver get depth and run this corner route, but then you're also going to see this motioned wide receiver drift off of that initial stem and then break it off into a 5-yard out. This does a good job of attacking the leverage of this corner and trying to make him decide a high-low defender in terms of who he's going to commit to, if he's going to go with the corner on the top or if he's going to try to sit and stay back here on the 5-yard out, which gives the quarterback a cleaner read as he's working through his progression. And as you can see here, Sam Howell gets to the top here. That corner does a great job of staying on the corner. But because of this out route being run with precision, the window then opens up for the quarterback to bring the ball back towards the sidelines. Howell brings it a little bit too far inside, but the receiver is able to come down and make a great catch. This final clip for the week is a version of 4 verts. Not something you see a ton out of with Kevin O'Connell, but in this case you're going to see what appears to be mirrored deep comebacks on the outside with inside 4 verts working bender routes up the seams, trying to hold the different defenders that are occupying that space. And you're going to see in this case the quarterback working the short side of the field here and working the outside comeback to be thrown. If you were running a version of deep choice, which the Vikings could be running here, but I would doubt it, you would have the same rule conversion here as this number one receiver towards the concept side here at the top. He would be running an accurate version of a deep choice as he gets to about 10 yards, because as the defender is dropping, he should be then stopping. So like if he's dropping, you're stopping. If he's even, you're leaving at about 10 yards, which most deep choice teams are. That's their kind of line of demarcation, 10 to 12 yards. As you watch this play develop, when they get to that about 10-yard marker, you can see them making a decision here to snap it off and come back towards the sidelines. What makes me think it's not deep choice, more than likely those deep choices would have been curling back inside towards the ball and returning right back down their stem. And this barrier route would have been a little bit more deliberate early on to get this underneath hook defender to commit more towards the middle of the field. This leads me to believe that it's just a version of 4 verts, and they're getting the ball mirrored back towards the outside, towards what looks to be a deep comeback route. So it's week 1. There wasn't a lot of levels of complexity here for Kevin O'Connell, which is kind of to be expected. But we did see some of those different concepts that he has highlighted in the past, such as those versions of smash on the front side, whether it be flat with a fade or whether it be your traditional smash concept, and then still having that bow concept coming into the line of vision on the backside. You did see some mesh show up a couple different times this week, a couple versions of 4 verts, and whether or not those are going to become staples in this offense remains to be seen. I'm not sure if that's something J.J. McCarthy is incredibly confident in and comfortable with. That's something we're going to track for you guys this year and take a look at every single week. And as we see those trends develop, we'll bring them to you here each week as we break down more the Kevin O'Connell offense.